Hey YouTube, Red Quill here, and back for another video. Today I'll be going over pages 15, 16, and 17 of my Legion webcomic. And I'm also going to show a different part of my page design process, showing how I make the initial page idea templates in a composition notebook, just to kind of show a different aspect of what goes into making these pages. But first, I'll quickly summarize the new pages for this week and their contents. So at this point, Frank has just attacked the cleaner, and now he's trying to get the rest of the members of Legion to help him finish the job. Of course, the other members of Legion are quite hesitant, as this is by far the darkest command that Frank has asked his other members. But eventually, Julie and Joey are willing to go ahead and follow through with Frank's orders and also join in attacking the cleaner. While Susie's in the background, still another shock in what is happening, and is desperately trying to not get involved and really just trying to pretend the situation isn't real. However, soon Julie returns with the knife and tries to get Susie involved. And despite Susie being hesitant and blatantly telling the group she wants no part of this, Frank makes her finally finish off the cleaner. This is pretty much really the end of there will be more pages after this, but I feel like this is, at this point, it's, they've all become killers, and this is really the end of their origin into how Legion was made. Because at this point, there's really no returning or turning back for any of the Legion members, and now I just need to finish the story and wrap up how they actually enter into the game of Dead by Daylight. Now on to the differentiate this video from my other vlogs on my making of the Legion comic. I wanted to show how I actually come up with the initial ideas for how the pages will be laid out. As you can see in just a quick video I made, I'm flipping through a composition notebook that I have, and this is what I actually use to do the initial sketches of what I imagine a page should look like. What's great about these notebooks is they are 50 cents at Walmart, so if you're an artist on a budget and you just need something to quickly sketch down your ideas, I love these notebooks, and just for the price, I think this is the best, one of your best art tools you can use. And it also is kind of helpful to have the ruled lines. I think this is a college ruled notebook, in case you want to just write other ideas down in normal text format. But yeah, as you can see, as I flip through it, I have a lot of story ideas for both other comics that I'll probably not end up making, but then I also do make all of my initial sketch ideas for all the Legion pages in this notebook. To kind of give some clear-cut examples on how I use this composition notebook, I wanted to line up side by side my completed pages that I make in Clip Studio Paint and the draft page I made in the composition notebook. And I think this will kind of showcase like how ultimately similar the two pages are. I often don't deviate really from my initial design. I'm usually pretty happy with what I come up with in my just little scratch pad. Because you can even see just like the layout of where the characters are, the Susie's reaction with her little exclamation mark is in both versions, her posture in the middle panel, and page 15, and even with Julie handing her the knife at the end of page 15. Like, this is all still there from the original version in my draft page, and I find using this notebook really helpful just because since everything is so simplistic, there's very little commitment once I draw ideas on here that I really feel a lot free to just change things up and erase all the time and redraw the page. And also, I just think it's kind of cool when you're in the composition notebook, like you can really tell the same story with much less detail, and I think still pretty convincingly. Like, say even on this last panel, you can tell it's Julie, because her mask has the X where her mouth is, and it's, at least to me, so clear enough that, hey, she's handing over the knife. But at the same time, though, like, I only drew a block representing her hand, a sort of triangle representing the knife, then just a circle for her head, and the X on her mask just to differentiate who this character is. And to me, it's just kind of cool seeing how, with such simple shapes, I'm still able to tell the same story. And this really helps me formulate my ideas for each page. Similarly, on page 16, I just used the reference I made in my composition notebook to lay out the panels and know what the text will be and the position of different characters. Now, sometimes, as you may notice on the draft page, I pretty much couldn't decide the exact positions of characters at this time. So it was more or less just an erased bottom panel, but it still provided me enough of a vague idea, at least on what the shape of the panel should be and what its contents would become, that I was still able to come up with something in the final version, although I did have to do a lot more on-the-fly design work since I didn't have the final panel filled out in my original draft. But for the most part, everything else is pretty much the same, though. You can, in the second panel, you see the signature Frank yelling no with his same position in the foreground of the panel, while Susie's still in the background. And then with Frank grabbing her arm, like, it's all the same content. And I'll conclude this video with my comparisons on the draft version and the completed version of page 17. To me, it's just really cool kind of getting to do this side-by-side comparison, because it's always at least a little bit exciting for me to see what the end product actually looks like based on the original idea. Because while, I usually go into a page knowing how to shape the panels and what their contents will be, notice here, like, anything I want to do for a background design for each of the panels is usually I end up deciding after everything else has been made. In page 17, with the third panel, I ended up again just adding the entity's tentacles as just a background design, which was not shown in my original draft, and that was an on-the-fly decision, but I think hopefully enhances the page's look and to help show that the entity is involved in all this. I also, as kind of an on-the-fly decision for page 17, tried to make it where Frank and Susie are starting to fade out. That's why there's a dark shading or reddish shading all around them. And this is, at least I'm trying to indicate that the cleaner is unfortunately about to pass on to the next life. And this is basically from his perspective, the last thing he sees as he's passing on. So yeah, I hope this is at least interesting to some people who are interested in either making a webcomic or just wanted to see how different artists do things as for their projects. And yeah, I'll my next video will be a little different, as I'm gonna take a little break from the Legion comic. It'll be about just a week break, as I end up going to see some friends for the holiday. But I'll still make sure I post a video. It'll be a little sooner this time. I hope to post it by this coming Thursday. And it'll just be on a quick Halloween special drawing, so I hope you'll enjoy it. Stay tuned till then, and hope you have a great week. Adios.